So in the last video, you started to see me use that paintbrush tool at the side just to add some strange little scribbles. And you might be thinking, what is she doing? This looks awful. But if we select it by just using my mouse just to highlight that area, and if I go to this effects at the side, these filter effects, I can add a blur by just putting a tick there. And I can change my type of blur. I'm going to go for a radial one. I can change how intense my blur is. And you can actually see, if I just press OK, and then give it a second to load up, if I deselect it by clicking off, I've started to make my own little background. Just be careful when you're doing this, because obviously it's actually taking up quite a lot of data. There's a lot of detail in that, so it can cause the software to slow down, it can cause it to crash. So make sure you're saving regularly, and I suggest when you go to save, you actually have different versions. So I might call this version 2. So just be careful if you're going to use the paintbrush and add a blur to create your own background. But it's just a different technique. Or you might prefer simply to have different images. I'm just going to get rid of a few of my little blurs that I've added. Might keep the red ones, quite like the red bits in there. I'm going to show you another technique where you actually can layer 2 different images together just to create a nice effect. So I'm just going to find a suitable image. I'll go for that one. Again, you can just copy and paste by right-clicking copy, or use Control-C and Control-V for your keyboard shortcuts. So I've now got 2 images, and I can just stretch that out to whatever size I want. And what I want to happen, I want to fade one image into the other. So what I'm actually going to do is use the transparency tool. It looks a little bit like a wine glass. If you select that transparency tool and then drag your line, you can drag it in different directions, so you can see it almost fades out. I want to fade that way. So I'm fading one image into the other one. And you can just experiment with where you're positioning those lines to fade one image into the other one. So it's just a higher level skill. It's going to boost your grade if you can do that, using that fade just to customize it and make it your own. So using that transparency tool. One of the important tools is the text, and I'm going to use this artistic text instead of using cool text. And you can see, depending on where I click and if I drag down, how big I want my text for my title. So I'm going to call this Clement's Magazine. Very original title there. Please do not have the default font style. It's really boring. Times New Roman is boring. Choose something that is more suitable, something that you prefer. There's lots of different fonts on there. If it's too big, you can simply go to the corner and just shrink it. Also, don't just have the same boring colour. Use your colour wheel. Choose the fill colour to change your font colour. Okay? Now, what you should always be doing with your text is adding a special effect to it. This FX tool, this filter effects, that is your best friend, because it's going to change your font from being really dull and boring into looking more professional. So you've got your filter effects, and I can just drag that off so we can see our text there. What I'm going to add, I might add an outline.